Are you a machine learning enthusiast? Or do you get excited on listening to the concepts of high speed aviation? Or are you someone who gets fascinated by imagining a world where self driving cars are going to be a very common thing? Well, if your answers to any of the question is yes, then this episode is just the right thing for you. Welcome to the brand new episode of the Tech Ketchup Show, a Nerd for Tech Originals. And today I have with me Kartik Chaudhari, a practicum researcher at NASA and a former machine learning intern at Apple. And he talks about these massive and impulsive technologies in this episode. So, if you are someone who loves technology and innovation, then you just don't want to miss such kind of conversations. Go ahead and listen to this podcast. This is your host Kushagra Srivastav and see you on the other side. So welcome Kartik to the Tech Ketchup Show, a Nerd for Tech original, and I hope you just enjoy yourself and we have a great conversation today.
I do. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a really great initiative you guys are taking, and I really think it's going to bring a lot of value to a lot of students out there.
Thanks a lot, and it's a pleasure to host you. So, like Kartik, just to start with the conversation, I would like to ask you about like since you have been associated with some of the most prestigious organizations in the world, you're working with some of
Mhm.
those organizations, be it Apple or NASA. So, how intelligent do you feel about yourself, and like and on a daily basis, how overwhelming do you feel when you like interact with some of the most brilliant brains of the world? So, how overwhelming that is?
So answering the first question, see, to be honest, I don't really, the intelligence isn't really a thing. I really don't think so. Like, yeah, you have basic intelligence, but uh,
Yeah,
beyond that, I think it's a lot of being at the right place at the right time, number one. Number two is see, it's just willing. It's just a willingness to do things. It's not about intelligence or anything. And overwhelming 100% every day. Like if you talk to my parents or my anybody I know at this point, they'll tell
yeah,
you about how overwhelmed I'm through the day. And about the intelligent colleagues. Um, so it's definitely an amazing thing because you get to learn a lot from them. If you're
yeah.
in a group of people, with the same mindset, then you don't really learn a lot. You need to interact with people from different mindsets, from different backgrounds, and that really helps you out and diversify your mindset.
Exactly, exactly. So, how like I would like to know, Karthik, like if you could break down how did Apple and then how did NASA happen to you, and like what was the entire procedure and process to just go into like to get those internships out there?
Right. So Apple is it's a pretty standard company. Like it's a very large company, and
Exactly.
yeah, their cutoffs are I think a little higher than some other companies. But they have a very standard and a well structured process. I think in the case of a company like Apple, what ends up happening is you need to be specialized in like suppose now let's talk about machine learning.
Okay.
You can be good at you can be good at generic machine learning, but uh, I think you need a taste for a more in-depth setting of machine learning, something that they're looking for. And this is just something I noticed in all of my colleagues and all the people on my team. And anybody you point to, you can basically say that, if there is something that I want to do in this particular field, that person is the person to talk to. And that person basically covers everybody in the team.
Okay.
So everybody in that team has some specialized skill or the other. And coming to NASA, so the thing is, a lot of this is because of CMU. That's Carnegie Mellon. That's where I'm doing my grad studies right now. So I think over here, having a prestigious brand name also comes into play. because a lot of these places, all of these research units like NASA and all, they come to CMU to have the students solve their problems.
Okay.
And that's how you get a lot of opportunities.
Okay.
Now, this being said, this doesn't mean that only coming from prestigious universities allows you to do it.
Yeah.
It's just that you come to know about a lot more things being
Exactly.
at a place like CMU.
Exactly. So like Karthik, since a lot of like machine learning, data science has been like some of the hot technology stuff that everyone wants to explore nowadays, and be it professionals, be it students, they are just trying to learn new things, attending MOOCs and watching some YouTube videos, trying to read stuffs for learning those kind of things. So how did you start your journey in learning this machine learning and data science part? And then how your learning curve has been since then, because the field is like evolving every day. There is something new coming out like every day. So how has your learning curve been?
Uh, so my start has been exactly how you defined MOOCs,
Okay.
YouTube videos. I still remember like the first thing I jumped into on YouTube were Hugo Larochelle's neural network videos. They
Okay.
explained the math behind it. Thoroughly overwhelming to see the math. And I did this during my first year of undergrad, I think. And at
Okay.
that point, that math was just alien to me. Um, and then after that, piece by piece. So I guess a lot of the things I did after that, I picked up on the subject a lot faster. First thing is having a project-based mentality, I think. So as you mentioned, machine learning is a huge field at this point,
Yeah.
and it's accelerating. You have so much literature coming out every day. When you have a project in mind, that time you know that you have to focus on a particular aspect.
Okay.
And it's not like if you have a project-based approach, you're going to ignore the rest of machine learning or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just that when you want to pick up a particular skill in that domain, just go and pick up a project. And there are so many things available online.
Exactly.
Like, yeah. And another really good thing is, machine learning is very democratized. So
Okay.
you have a lot of resources available to the general public.
Yeah.
Take advantage of it.
Exactly. So, like, are there any particular things or like some important things that one should, a person or a student who is just trying to break into this learning path of machine learning? So, are some of the important things that should be kept in mind while starting, or anything that actually needs to be there when you're starting off with learning machine learning?
So that basically depends on which side of machine learning do you want to go to.
Okay.
If you want to go onto the research side, I'd say you need a very strong math background.
Okay.
The second, if you want to go on an application side, then you get to use a lot of pre-existing models, a lot of very well documented things.
Yeah.
And the thing about the application side that people, I think, skip normally is along with having machine learning skills, you do need very good software development skills too.
Okay.
Like it's like you can be good at machine learning by just knowing machine learning. You can be great at machine learning by knowing machine learning and how to develop the software.
Okay. So, like Karthik, as you told us that you have a background in high-speed aviation. So, could you just explain to our listeners that what exactly do we mean in simpler terms, that what actually is high-speed aviation, and like what is your role being an ML engineer into this domain?
Uh, so uh, just one difference in that is, so it's my background is actually high speed transportation,
Okay.
and so coming to what I've done in the past related to it and how it basically developed into machine learning is so one of the first. So I've always been fascinated by cars,
Okay.
right? And I've always wanted to build a car.
Great.
Uh, my first step towards it would be this amazing concept called Hyperloop.
Okay.
So Hyperloop absolutely blew my mind when it came out, like when Elon Musk published that white paper. And that's when we started working on it. So it's not a car, it's a pod,
Okay.
but it was a very exhilarating thing. And the thing about taking up projects like this and I think going into the sky. going into these fields is when you do a few projects over here, you start understanding what the data is going to be like.
Okay.
Now, so I started off with Hyperloop. I saw a lot of data related to it. You understand a few things. The next project I worked on, so that is something that I'm working on right now is also, so we are working on the robo race car. We are working on DevBot, and we are basically working with extremely high speed vehicle situations, cornering and all that. And that data is not completely independent from our background. And the third thing is aviation data coming to NASA. And so I can't really speak a lot about it, but
Yeah.
uh, that's basically just, so that is more of figuring out, when there's going to be an anomaly or not. Uh,
Okay.
the thing is, a lot of this relates back to physics, and
Okay.
having an understanding of how that physics works is where that machine learning really comes into picture, because you can't use equations everywhere. You need
Exactly.
tolerances.
Exactly. So could you please explain, Karthik, like what exactly was that Hyperloop project, and like what work did you do out there, and like what were the learnings from that project?
Ah, so Hyperloop is basically, so it's a pod which is traveling at an extremely high velocity through a tube, through a vacuum tube.
Okay.
And SpaceX came out with this competition called the Hyperloop Pod competition. It's a great initiative. I really like it. I think it didn't happen this year, but it'll come back. Um, my role in it was, so first we were trying. The thing is, when you're working with high speed data, that time even small anomalies can create a huge difference.
Okay.
And you need to figure out, like, in your 3 degrees of motion and all, if there's a small anomaly also, how fast can you recover from it?
Okay.
And that was my main takeaway from that. The thing about Hyperloop, how I grew as a person was, I worked with a lot of mechanical engineers, a lot of people from instrumentation, a lot of very, very varied backgrounds, electronics. And
Yeah.
when you have this experience of working with an interdisciplinary team, I think your mindset also grows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So like Karthik, since like you have been into like into the development of softwares for like or self-driving cars. So like how that what is that work, and like how is exactly that process, or like what kind of softwares do you actually build out for such self-driving cars, or like what is the work you are doing in that part?
Right. So at this point, I'd say I'm still a little basic on the
Okay.
self-driving part, because it's a huge, huge field. Like,
Exactly.
you have companies that are pouring in millions and billions into it. And
Exactly.
so I'm probably working on a very, very small part of something very big. But to start off, so I'm working on path planning right now.
Okay.
And that's basically to understand how the decisions that the vehicle takes so that it can move correctly on a particular route,
Okay.
avoid obstacles, things like that. And so my basically comeback to path planning from self-driving vehicles is that uh, it's like a melting pot. You have inputs from a lot of different places. You have a lot of decisions to take, and at the end of the day, that's what matters, where your vehicle is going.
Exactly.
You can't hit a person on the road, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So,
Was there? Did I miss a part of the question there?
no, pardon?
Did I miss a part in your question?
No, no, no. You the question was answered. So, like, since I know that a lot of things cannot be revealed about your work at NASA, but if you could just explain what are the few problems that you are trying to solve out there, or the few problems that you are actually working on, just to cover some basic points.
Right. So basically, flights are vulnerable, right? And
Okay.
when we have vulnerable flights, like they can crash. They have anomalies going on. You have redundant measures within them
Okay.
to take care of those anomalies. And what we are trying to do is, so this is my entire group. We are trying to figure out uh, when there's going to be an anomaly.
Okay.
Like, uh, during the flight, if something's going to go wrong, when is it going to go wrong? Are there certain things we can look at? That sort of a thing.
Okay, great, great, great.
Yeah. The thing about the project is, I think, so NASA has a lot of resources.
Yeah,
So it's a huge organization. So the data
exactly,
they have is also pretty rich.
exactly. Well, Karthik, we would like to just end up this conversation. Just a last question to you. Like, since this is a tradition at the Tech Ketchup show, so like, what are some of the things that has actually helped you a lot in being better at what you are, just not professionally, be in as a complete person. So could you refer some books or some blogs that you are very much into, or some kind of a podcast, something, whatever has helped you a lot?
So a great question, by the way. It's really making me think. Um, I think all of it means, yeah, means there's nothing in specific, I think, blogs, but I do read a lot of self-help. Like
Okay,
that's the thing. And I am actually actively trying to figure, like, so like tons of flaws in me, right? And
exactly.
I'm actively, like, just having that active process in your mind that, oh, I'm actually going wrong here. I need
Hmm.
to correct myself over here, and just Google it. Like there
Yeah,
are there are a lot of really good things out there. Right from mental health to physical health and maintaining relationships, things like that. I mean,
exactly.
at the end of the day, the goal is to be a complete person, right? Not a robot.
Yeah,
Yeah. So my recommendation is read blogs, and so this is a really good book that my dad recommended to me that really helped me a lot. That is How to Win Friends and Influence People.
yeah,
Uh, that it's a really good read. Somebody, if anyone's really interested in how to connect with people and that sort of a thing, trust me,
exactly.
read it.
Well, that was great having you, Karthik, on the show. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I hope our listeners also enjoy listening to some really awesome projects that you have discussed about. So, well, that was Karthik with us, and I, to all our listeners on every platform, just like our channel on whatever platform you're listening to. This is Kushagra Srivastav, your host, signing off until the next episode. Thanks a lot, Karthik.